Hi everyone, in this video I want to talk about the concept of misaligned relationships based on the 3D level perceptions or very programmed level of perceptions humans have about relationships, which ends up usually leading us to falsely perceive a certain thing as a compatibility with a partner when it isn't really a compatibility. So for this, I had actually got a influence or insight from a cartoon sketch, where in the cartoon we see two couples walking down a park, and in when the two couples are walking, one couple is depicted as a sharpener, and along with the sharpener there is a screw who is his partner, screw with hinges on it, or I don't know, the coiled screw, whereas on the other side there is a bolt who is a partner with a pencil. Now this shows, and it was about mismatched relationships, because why is a screw a partner with a sharpener? Because a sharpener is also involved in screwing up a pencil, right? Technically its job is to sharpen a pencil, but while it's sharpening a pencil, the movement that is required is the same mechanical movement that a screw would also do. So that is how humans are. If we don't understand our core nature, that maybe our core nature is to sharpen something, sharpen someone, and at that time, if we are staying with a screw, can a sharpener end up sharpening a screw more than it needs to sharpen? No, the screw already has those circular coiled grooves around it, and those grooves also are of a certain pointy sharpiness, because a bolt needs to fit on it. But or the screw also has two purposes, right? It has to first have a bolt also with associated with it, but it has to have either the right bolt with that screw, or it has to be driven into a wall, and it needs to fit into a wall. So again, with different screws, some screws need a bolt. Those screws which don't have grooves around it, they will need a bolt, whereas the screws which do have a groove around it, they don't need a bolt. They are the screws that are meant to be they may or may not need a bolt, because again, I'm not a construction worker. I'm just a basic minimal observationist about the purpose of a screw and a bolt and all. So if I am telling something wrong and someone understands this concept a little bit better than me, please do explain it in the comments. But what I'm trying to elucidate here is, essentially, when a sharpener sees the pencil, finally the sharpener is recognizing, and the pencil is with a bolt. So the sharpener is finally realizing that, oh, I'm meant to be with a pencil, not with a screw, because even though a screw also fits the hole that I have in my body, the screw's functionality is not enhanced when the screw is with me, and my functionality and purpose is also not resolved when I'm with a screw. So this is what, and you can see in that expression of the person who is the sharpener, that sharpener is beginning to realize that. Now, are all the four people who, the two couples, they were facing each other while they're walking in a park, and the couples, they are couples because they are likely holding hands. They may not be couple, one might be a couple, another might be a brother-sister duo, but whatever it is, seeing the pencil, the sharpener has finally realized that it needs to be with a pencil that needs to be sharpened by it, a pencil that will fit its purpose, right? Similarly, the pencil might also start recognizing that is what the pencil needs to be with, someone who will sharpen them, because pencil also has a purpose, right? Sharpen has a purpose of sharpening someone, whereas pencil has a purpose of writing on paper. So if say you are partners with a pencil, like you are a sharpening kind of a personality who sharpens people up, smartens people up, and the other person is a writing kind of personality who likes to write, but his brain cells gets dull over time, so he needs to be constantly sharpened by a sharpener like personality, someone who will keep them on their toes. So that pencil like personality now will be compatible with a sharpener like personality. And the pencil also needs to be provided with paper. So either they have to have a job that provides them continuously with paper, or if the pencil is supposed to be the woman in a relationship and the sharpener is supposed to be the man, and they want a traditional relationship, then the man has to provide the paper to the pencil for the pencil to write. Or if the man is the pencil like personality and the woman is the sharpener like personality, then the man is supposed to buy the paper, even if it's the woman who has the capacity to understand that she needs a paper on which the writing that the pencil's purpose is, she needs the paper. So she has to either, if it is a woman and she's working, she has to either buy the paper for herself or have a partner who recognizes when she needs paper, when she's running out of paper. And not just paper, if the woman has bought the paper for herself, the partner may need to go and get her an eraser sometimes when she's making mistakes while writing, or things like that. And if they produce children, let's say their children end up being pencil crayons, then for pencil crayons slightly different things will be needed, right? It's not simply that the sharpener has to sharpen the pencil crayons, but they have to also realize that a new kind of eraser has to be created if the children make mistakes while drawing with a pencil crayon or writing with a pencil crayon, right? So this thing of realizing your life purpose, how do you realize that life purpose? Now say the sharpener finally realizes that sharpener type of personality. I'm just giving it as a metaphorical example, like something very visibly easy for certain visually oriented people to understand, right? So if you have that kind of a personality type where you're very sharp and your purpose is to do these sharpening of human beings related thing, like cutting them, making them into, bringing something out of them that they can't bring out without your help. So first he has to realize he has to be with a pencil. Now again, as I mentioned, the crayon pencils, what if there is a sharpener which is meant to be with a crayon pencil and another sharpener which is meant to be with a regular pencil? So you have to decide which pencil you have to be with. And if you have seen certain times in India, we used to use pencils a lot during our childhood, or if you're a sketch artist, you use a lot of pencils. So at that time when we're using pencils, you might have seen that while sharpening pencils, there are certain sharpeners which might be slightly blunter, and they need a softer material of the pencil's wood to be used. So if you are a little blunt sharpener which needs a softer material of pencil, right kind of a material of pencil is also needed for the right sharpener, right? So for certain sharpeners you need softer kind of pencils, for certain other sharpeners you need harder kind of pencils. And also the graphite inside the pencil nowadays, that material is also sometimes not in the right consistency level, so which causes that those pencils to break apart also very easily. So now if you are a family, and in a family, like you are this kind of a person who has recognized who is your partner, who is your right partner, you are with your right partner, where you understand that for your level of sharpness, which kind of partner pencil type you have to be with, right? You have realized that and you are the right partner. But say over time, like pencils, like I have pencils in my home which for 10 years, 20 years, no one has used those pencils. They have just simply been lying inside a pencil box. So now when suddenly after 20 years or 10 years, no one having used those pencils, if I suddenly start using those pencils, even if I have the right sharpener for it, if the sharpener also hasn't been used for a while, if the pencil also has just existed just inside a box for a while, the pencil might have become harder, the inside material might have become more brittle. The easiness with which it used to write, it is not able to write because it has dried up in time because of whatever environmental conditions. Some pencils might have dried up. If you had kept by mistake your pencil somewhere near a drawer which was near some damp area, the pencil might have rotten. So now if you have a rotten pencil, do you have to throw it even if it is your perfect fit pencil? It was a perfect fit when it was a perfect fit, it was a perfect fit 10 years back, 20 years back, when you were meant to use that pencil and when you were meant to work together with each other. So at that time you were maybe meant to. So if suppose in my 40s I meet someone who seems like a very perfect fit for me about many things, but I am in my 40s and that person is in their 80s, and I'm realizing that even though there is many qualities in that person that fits my personality type, should I marry or not marry that person will depend on what me and that other person, both of us needing to know that maybe in this lifetime we can't marry each other. We can just appreciate that this was the quality which we needed in our typical partners or balanced and rightful partners. But for one of us, the one who might be in their 80s, maybe they're going to die in another 5-10 years. For them, their life purpose, if they are in their 80s and they have some insight that maybe they will be dying in a few years, or even if you don't have an insight but you know that in your 80s you do not want to do the same thing as a 40-year-old, or maybe you met a 30-year-old who fits your purpose, and you are seeing that even though that 30-year-old fits your all attraction criteria, emotional criteria, everything that you want, still it would be wiser for a person who is reaching a age where they might have to become a dependent on someone to choose a partner if you are still eligible for marriage, or your wives have died or you divorced your wives, and now you have to decide then as a 80-year-old what is the age appropriate thing for you to do. As a 80-year-old, should you be in company of that 30-year-old who brings you joy, or should you or seems like a perfect fit, or should you, instead of spending time with the 30-year-old who seems like a perfect partner or perfect fit for you, should you focus on all the family you have, all the other responsibilities? Like, there were different things that kept you engaged throughout your life, right? So your work might have kept you engaged, and that's the most likely reason why people divorce. When work keeps you engaged, or your internal core nature is a particular kind of a nature where you couldn't find the right fit for your personality type with the people you dated, whatever it is, at that time it is the time of life where you have to self-reflect. That's why in some of my videos when I'm talking about people who are near the retirement age, or in religious principles also, when it talks about that towards the end part of your life, if you know this is the end quarter of your life, in the end last quarter of your life, be it you will live until 100, 120, or you will live until only 90, or you will live only 82 years of age, you don't know when you will die. Most people will not know. Very few people will know whether they will die in 10 years, 5 years, 1 year, 1 month. So because you don't know when you will die, but you know that you have reached the part of life where you are not supposed to be doing the same thing as a 40-year-old, 30-year-old, 20-year-old. If you have understood that realization, then should you be aspiring towards what a 40-year-old or 20-year-old is doing? So if a 40-year-old is very busy with their professional life, again, you can't have a partner who will be busy with their professional life at that time. You need a partner who will also be in the retirement stage with you, ready to sit with you and just enjoy the simple pleasures of life possibly. Or if not a partner, you need some people in your family life who are there to cheer you up, bring you cheer. If not, you are supposed to maybe in that last 20-30 years of your life meant to say you were a very good workaholic for 40-50 years of your adult life. So as a result, for 40-50 years you have given your all to your profession, but maybe at that time in that last 10 years of your life you are meant to sit and mentor now new people in your company, so that they can take over your company in the right way. And there are some businessmen who have done this. It's not that they haven't done it. Sometimes they mentor people, but sometimes their ego can get in the way. Sometimes if they're younger, the person who is coming after them, if that person is super smart or showing some smartness that you are jealous about, or is a misfit in personality type with you, you do not recognize that talent. So in order to recognize that talent, now the person who will who's next, that is where you have to bring God into the picture, even in the last stages of your life. Even if for 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 years you never thought about God. And while bringing God into picture, you have to also realize which of the people should I mentor. Should I mentor 10 people in my company? Is it time for my company now to become instead of just one leader in the company, should it be distributed amongst different people? Is it that in order for this to happen, now God also knows what is needed next for the alignment to next phase of earthly existence. So because of it, sometimes you will be allowed to spend the 20 years of your retirement years, like maybe from 70 to 90 years of age, you do this redistribution of your company's work and who should head your company and things, reorganization of your company structure and things like that. But if God knows you're not capable of reassigning and roles, then what will happen? Then you might end up being a leader who ends up dying within a few years of when you were you end up dying when you were meant to die. So then there is no successor at that time. Then universe has to decide, or the company's own flow and other things related to the purpose of the company's future purpose and direction will decide how to reorganize or restructure a particular company. So this is how the universe works, because God knows what is your capacity to do something. If you had, as in your 80s, the capacity to restructure, reorganize, do things in the right way, aligned with the future existence of your company's life as well as the future of humanity's needs, then you will be given that 10, 20, 30 years of retirement age time to do all these restructuring in the right balanced manner. If you are not the kind of CEO who would do that, who's got the capacity to do that, or the owner who has the capacity to understand all these things, that is the time when you will see certain industries will fail miserably, or certain companies will suddenly start failing, even if for decades of their life they hadn't seen any failure. Because there is always, there are 3 different ways in which restructuring and change and realignment with the next purpose on earthly existence happens everywhere on earth, be it in our individual lives, be it in our professional lives. So when I'm talking about a large scale company, it is about the professional life of that person, it is about the professional responsibility that that person holds. But everyone, universe knows what kind of responsibility that person holds and what kind of capacity and capability they have. That's why for the restructuring thing, if that person is not eligible to do it in the right way, either they will fall sick, or they will be distracted into doing some other work, or they might end up dying. These are the 3 paths that might unfold, so that the next person who is capable of restructuring it in the right ways would come up. And sometimes the next person might seem like the right person to restructure it in the right ways or redirect it in the right ways, but if that person was not the rightful successor for that industry, and maybe there is some major turn that needs to happen in that industry, or slow turns have been happening in that industry, but that company hasn't been realizing what is the turn that has been going on with other companies, then what is going to happen is that company might majorly crash. Or if there is another company where the restructuring has started happening for a long time, slowly they have been redirecting it also in the right ways to the right earth aligned and next phase of earthly existence aligned practices, that company may not crash completely, but then they will have still some, there is always a phase of downturn that has to happen in every one of our lives, because that is the necessary condition of existence on earth. When you have the capacity to go up and reach peaks, you also have to build the capacity to know when to come down as well and reach the zenith as well. So if I am a kind of a climber, a company, or a kind of a person who knows how to climb and become the top, Everest climber, if you have the capacity to climb Everest and multiple hills, that also means you have the endurance to climb down as well. But while some people have the endurance and physical capacity to climb up and climb down, there are other people, even if you have the physical capacity to climb up and climb down, they've not built the resilience to understand the value and purpose of why you have to climb down as well, to balance things on earth. And those people who don't have the capacity to understand the value and purpose of coming down, for them, the person who understands it very easily, or the person who has to come down, otherwise there is some danger for them, those are the personality types who will climb down suddenly. So say you have climbed a 1,000 feet mountain or hill. You climb the mountain, you have the capacity to climb, but you don't know how to climb down gracefully. So you will or you have only the resilience to climb up, you've never built the resilience to climb down. So which happened, like I have done some trekking activities in Utah. So when I have done all these trekking activities with different people, I knew I didn't have the capacity to climb a certain thing, but because of my friends I continued climbing with them. And then also there was a area where I definitely knew that how much ever they coax me to climb this area, I just cannot climb there. So I didn't climb the part which I absolutely know I cannot climb. So this potential to know what is the area you should traverse, what is the area you should not traverse, or how much should you extend yourself is something very is crucially important for people to learn. And in one of my treks, while there are many treks I have taken where I have pushed myself to my limits and slightly crossed some of my comfort zones, and in those comfort zone crossing, I later on realized, okay, in order to again climb a mountain of this level, I may have to practice a little bit more certain things in order to make myself more comfortably able to climb and comfortably able to descend. And after descending, when I'm suffering and having the pain, comfortably able to hold the pain in my body if some pain is occurring. Or have to understand that what food is required, what nutrition is required, what general body health is required for me to climb up and climb down, so that after I climb down, I do not have these body aches and pains or as much ache and pain as I had previously when I was inexperienced, right? So all these things you're meant to learn when I have done different level climbing activities, and I'm definitely not one of those people who is an expert climber. So as a result, what I decided was, this is not something I want to spend my lifetime doing. I might want to climb up a little, climb down a little, occasionally go on treks, but I'm not the kind who wants to climb a Mount Everest. I'm okay with just climbing. Either someone take me to the top of the mountain and I'll climb the last 2-3 hours of the climb that's necessary. If I am physically, capable of doing that, I'll do that. But if I'm not physically capable, I'll deny going there, because that is not a place I need to explore right now in this life, because I don't have the physical, mental, emotional capacity, or maybe the nutritional factors that are needed for me to do that climb, the health conditions needed for me to be capable of that climb. Right? So everyone, that's why, needs to understand. So I am the kind who has, after I have gone on 8-hour treks, I've gone on a whole day of exploring a national park with 4-hour treks and things like that. And despite having done minor 4-hour treks or a longer 8-10-hour trek, I realized that these are not the treks I would ever do. I've even gone on 1-hour treks with friends, but when my shoes are not right, or I know my physical health status is not right while they are climbing those even smaller hillsides of 1,000 feet height, even there I decided, I know what is my limit, what is where I can go, where I cannot go, where I should not go, why I should not go, or if in order for me to even prepare to going in that direction, what are some of the things I feel I need in order to feel secure about doing that. Why? Because I'm not that personality type who has the adventurous spirit, who has the climbing, social climbing or physical climbing spirit to do it. I have simply done it because my friends want to do it. I have sometimes done it because I have also wanted to see a beautiful view from a top of a mountain. But I am also equally the kind of a person who doesn't need to go to a top of a mountain to see a beautiful view, simply because for that view that I want to do a 8-hour 10-hour climb always. There are some people who always want to do that. They are the spirit who have the physical strength, who have the emotional strength, who have the resilience, who want to keep reaching these peaks again and again. So for them, they want that adrenaline rush from it. They want that whatever else is emotionally validating for them when they climb these things, they want that. So group of trekkers also, when you are in a group and doing trekking activities or activities, touristy like activities, at a time Do you need to decide which are the kind of friends you will be comfortable traveling with and which are the kind of friends you do not want to travel with, because they're simply not your comfort zone? Maybe they've done certain things to ensure that your comfort zone is present while you are in that trip, but even then, if this is the misaligned group or a group with whom you do not have a long time purpose of traveling with them, somehow or the other the group will start fracturing, the traveling purposes will start halting, like, which is what physically literally happened with me, that my physical health completely got halted in a way where I cannot go anywhere because of my physical health condition. So how much ever people tell go here, go there, do this, do that, I cannot go here, go there, go do this, do that, because I just do not have the physical capacity to do the thing that someone mistakenly thinks I am meant to do. Because you can only do what you are meant to do, you can only do what you are supposed to do, and even if someone essentially pushes you to do certain things that you aren't meant to do, you will still not be able to do those things, which is what modern slavery is about, and even ancient slavery was about. Like in ancient times, when slavery happened, like say in the Egyptian culture, when slavery happened, the reason why these people who were using the laborers to do certain work of building the pyramids, at a time, if they were cruelly, like, beating the people who are the workers, who are the slaves, who are building the pyramid. Now, what was happening in that slavery time? It was causing cruelty, which eventually led to the freeing of the Jews from, in the story of the Bible, the Jews were freed. But is it just the Jews who were freed? Maybe some mixed populations were also freed along with the Jews when this plague happened in the Bible story of Moses' times, right? So, but realistically speaking, those pharaohs who were not cruel, who were simply just verbally maybe pushing their employees to do a work that the employee has the physical capacity to do, but is just not willing to do, those people, could you consider them as cruel? Or even if they are cruel, are they the same level cruel as someone who is whiplashing someone again and again and unwilling to understand that this worker cannot do more work than what you are asking them to do? Which one is the more cruel person? The more cruel person is who's flogging someone again and again or beating someone again and again, who has zero capacity to do anything more than what you are asking them, anything more than that they are capable of doing. Versus someone who is pushing someone to do something, seeing that this person is lazy, that's why they need to be pushed, or if not lazy, they do not understand how to do meaningful, mindful work. So say, you have a worker who is just simply supposed to lay the stones in a particular way in the pyramid. Now, there is a right way to lay the stones and there is a misaligned way. If your stones do not get laid in a right way, will you get that perfect pyramid triangular structure? You will not get that perfect pyramid triangular structure. From a long distance, it may still look like a good triangular, well-built pyramid. But when you actually come near the pyramid, you will start seeing where the stones were not laid the right way, if you are the kind of person who has the right vision to discern this, because not all of us have the discernment. Now, the person who is hiring employees who don't understand this difference between how to lay the stones in the right way, how much ever you try to make a 1,000-foot pyramid, if 2 pyramids are made and in one pyramid the number of workers who are doing the work do not know how to lay the stones in the right way, you will have a pyramid, you will have a 1,000-foot pyramid as well, but you will not have the same perfection based pyramid that will happen if the pyramids were built in the right way, right? So if you are a perfectionist, you also need the perfection oriented worker. If you want to make a top class pyramid of the very aesthetically pleasing to the eye, you also have to engage with those people who are capable of doing that top class work. And at that time, if you mishire people, yes, you are cruel, but if from your cruelty you develop, like say you keep shouting at your worker, and how much ever you shout, that worker is not able to change the way they are building the pyramid, then what is it you have to do? Do you have to fire that worker, or should you continue working with that person? Maybe that person is really poor, and out of empathy and out of love for that person you hired them to do a work. But can they still do the work of building a pyramid? Or then even if you want to give them work, do you have to give them a work where mindfulness is not required then? Right? That's why God doesn't, even if everything is equal, when you begin your soul journey on earth, eventually, depending on your evolution and learning and capacity to do something, your work gets distributed. That's why, again, and that's why the person who has the capacity to do the work they are doing gets to be the level of person that you end up being. So again, a worker who is constantly getting scolded by their employee, or constantly getting in modern slavery related conditions of a office culture, maybe what will happen is your boss might be overloading with you work which for you is a overload. Why is it a overload? Do you have to realize that this is not the company where I should be working? If a company expects some worker to give in 10 hours of their work all the time, and you are not capable of putting that 10 hours of work, your energy levels are such that you can only put in 8 hours work, or your family life conditions plus energy level plus other socio-economic factors, like maybe you were a poor person and you never had good nutrition all your life. So even if you suddenly in your 40s start eating good nutritious food, you will still never have the same energetic capacity as someone who is being fed good food all their life. Right? So there is a difference. So the worker who is smart worker, quick worker, very enabled and privileged worker, that's why has to understand that while you are topping and becoming a top class in certain profession, another person who's not becoming top class in that profession has some advantages and disadvantages related to their personal life, which has given them the capacity to not be at the same level as you. So this is how you build empathy for each other. You understand who is the weak worker, where that weak worker has to be assigned, where they shouldn't be assigned. And when you are a true leader, you will understand the potential of each of your workers, and based on the potential of each of your workers, you will sort and redistribute them into doing work that is necessary according to their potential. And how much ever the worker who is a low worker who is when you're building a pyramid, if you are finding the worker who can't build the right perfect lines in the pyramid, that worker, either you have to give them the work of those smaller time, because the pyramids are supposed to be tombs, right? So now let's say there are 1,000 kings in a particular place who need to build these tombs, but in those 1,000 kings there are 10 kings who do not care, they just want to build a tomb, that's it. They do not really care about the beauty of it, perfection of it. So then should your worker be assigned to that place who doesn't care, like what is the beauty, what is the perfection needed, what is the right way of doing things, right? So you have to reassign that worker to that place where the person doesn't really care what is going on. But if a person does care, if one of your kings complains that I do not want this worker, or the person who is overseeing the worker complains that I do not want this worker, do you have to eventually realize why that worker is getting rejected again and again by different places? And if they are getting rejected, is there a purpose to their rejection? That are they supposed to be a mason, or are they supposed to be something else? Like, where is it not that necessary to have perfectly structured things? In construction you don't need the perfect structures. In construction you do need the perfect structures, but in when you are planting a seed, do you need a perfect way to plant a seed? There is a right way to plant it, but is there a circular way that you have to do it, or aesthetically pleasing way that is necessary for a tree to grow? Not really. What is more necessary at that time? The nutritional condition you give to the tree is necessary, the watering you give to the tree is necessary. So if that worker, he may not be able to build a perfect pot, so pottery work has to be given to someone who knows how to build a perfect shaped pot. Whereas the planting work, the potting work, the watering work, and in watering also there is the right time to give the water. If this person's timing is okay, give them the watering job, like every day at 10 o'clock and 6 o'clock you have to water this plant. So teach them that which they are teachable about, right, or what they can learn. But in order to teach them what they are able to learn, or in order to get them assigned to the right roles, do you have to have a person with discernment who understands that this person is capable of doing this job. He may be capable of watering a plant, he may not be capable of planting a plant, he may be capable of giving procuring nutrition for the plant, but he may not be capable of making a pot. So in the garden also, if 3 people are working in a garden, 3 of them will have 3 different jobs. One might be the one who is making the pots, one might be the one who is planting the plants, one might be the one who is watering. Let's say some other new people come around, one might be the one who is going and bringing the nutrition needed for the plants to grow in the right way, or one might be a observer who has to tell you which nutrition is needed by which plant, or when your plants are starting to die, what are the conditions in your area that you are that are leading to the plant's death. That person also is needed. But the person who is needed to simply observe, is that person supposed to keep traveling with the traveler? No. An observer might also have to travel, but an observer's travel might be like, let's say you are a botanist with a educational degree where you understand that what are the health harming factors that cause a plant to die. You may have to travel from place to place to give that information. If you are only one of those top people, no one else has that information. But your travel again will be based on you sitting in an area for, maybe you have to be in an area for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years for that practice to be inculcated properly by the people of that area, and then you travel. That is your level of travel, which is not the same level of travel as someone with a lot of excess energy, who because of the excess energy they are traveling, and they are maybe like the kind who are the observer kind or the writer kind. So while traveling they observe certain things, write memes, do jokes, whatever they are capable of doing. So like, let's say you are supposed to be a comedy writer. The comedy writer might get to travel many different places to observe people of different kinds to get their comedy material to write about. But that comedy writer has to travel, like if he has the energy and if he's that person who's meant to be a comedy writer, maybe they are supposed to travel for every year, every few months, something like that. But if I am not supposed to be a comedy writer, or I am not supposed to be a person who is supposed to travel every few years or few months, and I'm only supposed to travel every few decades or every 5 years instead of once a year, I will get exhausted if people who want to travel, whose purpose is to travel every year, are given to me as my life companions. So I will not have a happy life with them. I will not enjoy a life with them. I will end up becoming miserable and depressed, which is what has happened, because my family, or the people who I understand are my family, they are the kind of travelers. Some of them are travelers who want to travel and climb big peaks. Some who are meant to travel and climb big peaks. Some of them are people who are meant to go from place to place once every few months or once every few years. Some of them are people who are meant to do some work while they are in a particular place. And all they are doing while traveling is, like in desert, you know how the desert Bedouin tribes were there, or different tribes were there in the desert. Again, in the tribes also, you would see in the desert there are people who are settling in oasis like areas, and there are desert travelers. Now the one who is meant to have that traveling feat, or energy to travel, or the capacity to travel, they are meant to travel from tribe to tribe, go from place to place. Whereas the one who, after done, maybe they did a little bit of desert traveling initially just to figure out which tribe they have to settle with, but after that they have to settle down. And if you don't allow that person to settle down because of your preconceived notions as to why this person has to settle down or why they shouldn't settle down, doesn't mean that they will not eventually settle down. And if you don't allow them to settle down, what will happen? And they continue traveling with you simply because you have too much attachment or toxic attachment to them that you don't want to lose them, what will happen is, even if you don't lose them physically in your presence, they might continue traveling with you, but they will become the shell of a person they were before. So because while your purpose would be to travel from place to place every few months and go from country to country or desert oasis to desert oasis, their purpose was to only settle down in one oasis, but you are not allowing them to settle down. So they are not getting like the person who's meant to settle down in an oasis. Why is it they meant to settle down? Maybe they are meant to grow some plants there. Maybe they are thirsty and they didn't need a lot of water, and the oasis area in the desert is the only area where water is there. Everywhere else there is scarce water, and that water level is not enough for this person to travel, or they are not able to take the heat. Their health condition is such that the heat can't be something they can travel with. They need a cooling down home to sit and rest in. So at a time you cannot keep pulling them to travel with you again and again. How much ever you want them to travel, they'll become a shell of a person. They will become tired. They will also become a burden to the people who are traveling, because while the people who are traveling, they have the energy to go like 10 kilometers, whereas this person doesn't even have the energy to travel even 1 kilometer. So they will be completely burdened. They will be slowed down. They will not be able to keep pace with you, and eventually they will either become complete burden to you, or they will end up dying. So which is the more merciful solution? Should you continue to give them food and medicine and help and carry them along with you again and again, or should you finally decide that this person's resting place is in here and you have to allow them to rest in their resting place? Now if you can't decide what is their resting place, again you have to ask God to tell which is this person's resting place. Is it it could be that some people will be dying now, so their resting place is just simply any oasis where good caretaking is present for them. For another person who's not dying, their resting place is not where the good caretaking is present, but their resting place might be a place where good humans are there who are doing something together. That is this person's purpose, to be in that resting, like for them it is a resting place, but not a resting place as in a final resting place after death, but or a final resting place few years prior to death, but a resting place where they have to rest, and while resting do the work they were meant to do. Like, which is what happened to me. Like I do not have ideal living conditions anywhere I have lived in, but the places where I can at least survive a little bit remotely is the place where I am at least able to sit and make these videos, sit and do my writing work. Those are the kind of places where I can function right now. Because I can't do how much ever someone flogs me to do some work, I cannot do 8 hours 10 hours work. My heart, my body, my spirit doesn't have that energy to do that kind of a work, and in the places where I am existing in currently. But does that mean that world where I can do my right work doesn't exist, or where I will thrive doesn't exist? That world does exist, but until I reach that world, I can't thrive in a place where I'm not meant to thrive. Does that make sense? So this is how you decide sometimes. That is why also the quality of toxic attachment is something some humans have to work on during the next phase of the ascension journey. Because when we are toxically attached with our family, toxically attached to our job, toxically attached to something that was previously meaningful for us, currently that may not be meaningful. So for me now, how much ever I try, 5 years back when I had good health, at that time if I had married someone, it was the right time for me to marry someone. But right now is not the right time to marry anyone, because I just simply do not have the energy and capacity to do anything that a married person is supposed to do. So I can only do something that a married and sick person is supposed to do. But in order to be in the next stage of life, does it mean I get married to another person who is also sick? No, maybe or no. Because no meaning, if you are aligned with a person who is also sick like you, and both of you are able to compatibly still do certain things together as a couple, then getting married to them makes sense. But if both of you are meant to die, or one is meant to die and another person is not meant to die but meant to rest somewhere, just simply rest for 1 year doing nothing and just vegetating, or just eating good food, healthy food, that is all you're meant to do. You cannot be with a person who's meant to die, because the person who's meant to die, how much of a healthy food you give, unhealthy food you give, their death is imminent. And the person who is meant to survive, how much of a unhealthy food you give, they will survive if that is what their next phase of journey is supposed to be, or they will survive until the time when they are meant to die. Like, so if I am meant to die 10 years later, all the toxins that are accumulating in my body eventually will cause the death 10 years later. If I'm supposed to die 10 months later, all the toxins in my body will eventually cause death 10 months later. Or if they don't cause death at all, if someone wants to, out of their ego or out of whatever reason, they have decided that I have to live for 100 years, I will live maybe 100 years, but I will be a vegetable. I will not be like because how much prana energy do I have? I have only that much prana energy to survive, or energy and purpose and direction on a particular earth. There is a certain time limit, there is a certain energy level, there is a certain level of work that I can do in a particular place. And that level of work, if I have already achieved, means that I have to die, or I have to let go of that life associated with those people who are meant to do some very great or big work, but I can't go and do that great and big work with them in this physical form. Maybe some other form of me will come in their life 10 years later who will do that same work with them, but this form of me can't do that work with them. So similarly, like me, if anyone else is sick in someone's family, if your mother is falling sick, your father is falling sick, your mother or father is completely sick, you may or may not realize whether they are sick or not sick, but if it is the time for them to pass away, that will happen with them. And if it is a time for them to go and rest in a particular place with other group of people, or while you were traveling with your parents in a way where you take them every year somewhere, whereas the parents now current level of travel capacity is such that they can't travel with you every year, they may be able to travel with you once in every 5 years, then you have to decide, is it okay for me to now travel with this person only once in 5 years rather than once every year that I used to do previously. So these are the things you have to realize. So I hope people will understand the life purpose of when someone is falling sick, what is the deeper purpose, when someone is tired, why they are tired, when someone is cranky, why they are crankily saying they are not going to be able to do this function anymore. And the more you are able to heal your toxic attachments to people or toxic attachments to a lifestyle you were used to few years back, 10 years back, have been used to for decades of your life, understand that depending on your personality only, God will give you the opportunities to heal your toxic attachment styles in the appropriate manner for you. So for one who is completely tired from a lot of toxicity, like which happened in my personal relationships, those relationships where I just cannot stand the toxicity of that relationship, or the dynamics of the relationship where I am toxic to someone, they are toxic to me, those relationships broke off immediately or sooner than those relationships which took time to break off. But when it is the time for even that relationship to break off, the breakup will happen. And after that, whether it will realign again will depend on what? On your future soul purpose and that soul's future soul purpose. So if someone's future soul's purpose is right now, whatever you have chosen as your trajectory of life will not align with, say, your parents' trajectory of life, then some of your parents will end up dying. If what you chose as your way of life is not going to align with the kid you birthed, again, even if you birthed a kid, had a kid for a few years, your kid lived with you for 10-20 years, again, it is very painful when a child dies at 10 years age, or a newborn dies, or a child suddenly dies at 20 years age, or a child goes missing at a certain point of age. When a child goes missing, maybe yes, you can go and start looking for that child. But if a child has died, you have to understand they died because their higher soul purpose of existence with you had ended at that time, and of that body has ended. Doesn't mean that that soul's higher purpose ends. The soul's higher purpose will come again with you, like after that body dies, maybe they reincarnate in a different life and come back as your future friend. but you have to have that faith in God, trust in God. And that's why you seek God in times of death, in times of fear of when you're losing someone, in times of denial when you are not able to understand why you're losing someone even if you love them greatly, or in times of pain when after losing someone or while losing someone, the pain and suffering you're going through. What is the purpose of that pain, suffering, death, separation, slow disengagement, slow illness, long-term illness? Each of them has a individual specific purpose for that soul, as well as the soul associated with them, with their friends, their family, their social group, their work cultures. Everyone has a purpose associated with what they are going through, individually as well as collectively as a group with someone. So if you start understanding that purpose deeply, or realizing the value and worth of why you're going through a particular experience, a value and worth you will not always understand while you're going through that experience. At that time you were just simply meant to learn to experience that pain, meant to learn to experience that grief, meant to learn to experience that separation. So at that time, allow yourself to just grieve, just feel sad, just feel depressed, just feel anxious, just feel overwhelmed, whatever you feel, just feel angry, just feel hatred, whatever you're feeling, you feel that at that moment. There's nothing wrong in feeling that, but allow that feeling also to give you better insight about, if you allow that feeling to give you the better insights about why you're feeling that particular way, you will slowly individual specific purpose for you will unfold for you first. Then slowly, this is what happened with me. And when I initially broke off with someone, I individually first understood what is related to my own soul journey that was necessary for me to break away from this relationship. Then after a few years, I realized what is it related to their soul purpose that was also reason why I was separated from them. Then slowly over time, I understood also the grander purpose of why we both had to meet each other at a certain point of time and maybe cause pain in each other's lives. But that pain now doesn't matter anymore, because now our individual purposes have unfolded as a result of that pain and suffering we went through a few years back with each other, or a few decades back with each other. So this is, or when my mother died or my parent died, what was that higher purpose that was meant to unfold as a consequence of someone dying in my family, or someone being angry with me, or someone who's isolating me, things like that. So everyone, if you want to do this deeper, if you're awakening towards a better evolutionary journey for your life, you will start to awaken to some of these concepts. And as you are awakening to some of these concepts, you are meant to develop some self-awareness about your own personal existence at a particular point of time in your life's journey with the people you are existing with. And it's also meant to realize, are you supposed to exist with these people, or is there a different place you have to go and find different people with whom you are meant to exist with now, given the current circumstances of your life? I hope this video was insightful, and if anyone has any questions or would like to open up discussion on any of these topics, please drop some comments so that I can answer back or read your comments to get influence to create another video. Thank you very much. Have a great day.